Fairies, dragons, magic, oh my! Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 female fantasy authors.
I've had very, very little pushback in terms of homophobic reactions.
For this list, we're looking at women who write about all things fantastic, and who do it well. Although not all of these writers limit themselves to one genre, we're recognizing them strictly for their fantasy works, as well as all of the things that make them special, like their creativity, the sheer volume of their work, and if they've been able to expand it to other media, as well as their dedication to their readers.
My imagination was busy saying to me, that's where the Boggart lives.
However, we're excluding authors more known for writing dystopian and paranormal fiction.
How can you be nearly headless?
Like this.
Number 10, Mary Pope Osborne.
I love to pack my bags and fly to faraway places, but my favorite place to find adventure is close to home.
What kid wouldn't want a treehouse that doubles as a time machine? Mary Pope Osborne is the author of over 55 books in the Magic Treehouse series for children, where the main characters travel through time. They tend to have historically and geographically accurate experiences, which is part of the reason why her books have been praised as educational reading material, only with wizards, quests, and spells. Osborne studied religion and mythology in school, which accounts for her fascination with the mythical and how that translates to her writing. Osborne's popularity as a children's fantasy author has only grown over time, with Lionsgate announcing in February 2016 that there will be a film adaptation.
If I stay alert and curious, I can find adventure wherever I go. You can too.
Number 9, Marissa Meyer.
I ended up having 5 ideas, and I really, really loved all of them. So I wrote all of them. That's how I roll.
She certainly isn't the first author to take a swing at the retelling of classic fairy tales, but Marissa Meyer does take a unique approach to the stories of Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Snow White, and Rapunzel. In the Lunar Chronicles, these heroines live in a universe where a portion of the population is made up of cyborgs, and aliens threaten to invade Earth.
I'd had the idea of futurizing fairy tales for a few months. I'd written a short story for a writing contest that was a futuristic Puss in Boots.
Once you read these books, you will never think of these fairy tale women in the same way. Meyer is able to turn such tired tales into something entirely new. And if you enjoyed this series, it will please you to know she has more books in the works.
I wanted to write a book that felt that it could fit into Lewis Carroll's world while also putting my own spin on it. And of course, time will tell if I've managed to successfully win them over.
Number 8, Susan Cooper.
I really have been writing books for more than 50 years. It's a heck of a long time.
There is little more important to this author than advocating literacy, especially for young people, which accounts for her numerous children's picture books. But her main focus as an author has always been a dedication to the fantasy genre and the influence of her British background, which is why many of her stories involve Arthurian legends, as well as Celtic and Norse mythology.
I've been obsessed with myth, especially Arthurian legend, ever since I was little.
This is particularly true of her The Dark is Rising series, a contemporary fantasy series about a young child's involvement in the battle between light and dark. A mix between Star Wars and Harry Potter, before Harry Potter was even a thing, this author really has a handle on the kinds of stories children and young adults like to read.
Nothing is more important to the future literacy of children than the books they will read then.
Number 7, Mercedes Lackey.
A bond between a human and some other creature is a very, very long-running meme in fantasy literature. It goes back, well, goodness, it goes back to the ancient Greeks.
If there's one thing fans can appreciate in an author, it's when the author has been a fan herself at some point. Mercedes Lackey is a perfect example, since her writing career actually began with producing fan fiction and participating in filking. That is music written and sung by fans as a tribute to elements of the sci-fi or fantasy genre.
This is convergence. They do what they must because they can.
She's best known for writing 30 installments in the Velgarth universe. These Valdemar Saga novels revolve around a wide array of mythical creatures, including but not limited to monsters, mages, and griffins. She's published over 140 books overall, which gives her an average of 5.5 books published each year.
When you are in the habit of coming up with ideas, they come up out of every single everyday situation.
Number 6, Robin Hobb.
We all have our different storytelling voices.
Margaret Astrid Lindholm Ogden is a woman of many names. She got her start as a children's writer under the name Megan Lindholm and began writing works in the fantasy genre under this name as well. She then decided to write fantasy under the pseudonym Robin Hobb as well, most notably for the Realm of the Elderlings, consisting of multiple trilogies.
When I finished writing Fool's Fate, I definitely knew that I would eventually return to this world.
This may seem unnecessary, but the author herself has explained that, quote, both pseudonyms write fantasy, but in very different styles and in very different slices of the genre. By using two different pseudonyms, I'm able to let the reader know which voice they're getting in a book. Plus, she's received praise from George R.R. Martin. How cool is that?
As George said, you come up with details, and there's other characters who step onto the stage and say, no, I'm a part of this, and I want you to tell more about me.
Number 5, Ursula K. Le Guin.
The first thing I did for the book was the map.
Like most authors, Ursula was interested in writing from a very early age, but after facing rejection, she held off trying to get any of her work published for a long time. It's a good thing she reconsidered in the end, because in her lifetime she has had over 24 books published.
Resistance and change often begin in art, and very often in our art, the art of words.
Her most popular works are the 6 books in the Earthsea series, which has been adapted for film, television, and radio, with the most prominent of these adaptations being the Japanese anime Tales from Earthsea. A documentary about Le Guin has been in the works since 2009. Number 4, Diana Gabaldon.
No one had ever shown me how to write, doctoral theses or software reviews or comic books. I had just looked at a few, wrote one, and if it didn't look quite right, I poked it till it did.
Many people are aware of the extremely popular TV series Outlander, which premiered in 2014.
I just want to go home. I don't even know if that's possible.
But some fail to realize that Outlander is actually based on a series of books of the same name by author Diana Gabaldon. The story revolves around a World War II nurse who travels back in time and ends up in 18th century Scotland and becomes involved with a handsome warrior. The story is considered primarily fantasy, but combines elements of historical fiction, romance, and adventure. It's been revealed that Gabaldon started writing with absolutely no intention of sharing her work. But fans of her work and the series it spawned are so glad she did.
But I said to myself, well, Mozart was dead at 36. If you want to be a writer, maybe you better get started here. And I said, I don't want to wait until I'm 65 and think you should have done this when you were younger.
Number 3, Cassandra Clare.
I think the thing is that my favorite characters tend to be the more quiet characters, like Simon and Tessa. There's the ones most like me.
Cassandra Clare, whose real name is Judith Rumelt, got her start writing fan fiction about Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings. But now she's best known for writing books in the Shadowhunter Chronicles universe about young people who fight demons and other evil supernatural beings.
By the time you sent that message, we will have killed 6 demons.
Besides, it's more fun to break the rules than to follow them.
Spaced out between 3 different series, with at least 2 more to come, these stories take place during different periods in time. A TV series based on the Mortal Instruments books premiered in early 2016, following the 2013 film based upon Clare's works.
Are you sure you want to go through with this?
Cassie also has a huge presence on Twitter and Tumblr, where she shares fan art and frequently interacts with readers both online and in person at meetups and conventions.
You're more powerful than you know.
Number 2, Anne Rice.
You can create a War and Peace, or you can create The Old Man in the Sea.
Interview with the Vampire was a 1994 horror film that starred the likes of Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, and Kirsten Dunst, just as their respective careers were taking off.
He'd be dead now if I hadn't let that damned corpse. Now get rid of it!
But the classic vampire tale also kickstarted the career of author Anne Rice, who wrote the novel over 20 years prior in 1973. It became the first in a series of over 10 books about vampires, though she wrote separate series about other supernatural entities like witches and werewolves. But Rice has also dabbled in genres like historical fiction, Christian literature, and erotica. While she doesn't consider herself loyal to any particular genre, Rice makes her list because of how influential she is to fantasy thanks to the Vampire Chronicles.
I think they're great metaphors for us because secretly we all feel a bit like a monster. We're all predators in our own way. We're all outcasts to some extent.
Before we reveal our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
The way I work is by page limit. I have to make my page limit every day or I can't watch television.
Number 1, J.K. Rowling.
I've never shied away
in my writing for children or in my writing for adults with dealing with the darker side of life.
We might joke that if you don't know who this is, you must be living under a rock. But even people who live under rocks likely know who J.K. Rowling is, or at least what her work has become famous for.
I think I've been surprised by the fact that Harry hasn't left me to the degree that I thought he would, and I'm quite glad about that.
Rowling may be delving into the adult and crime fiction genres as of late, but got her start as a fantasy writer with, that's right, Harry Potter. Although the final book in the series came out in 2007, Rowling has always honored fans by staying active on social media, creating the interactive website Pottermore, and being involved with the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
One of the things that I have valued most about the Potter fandom is that as a community, they have really looked after each other.
It's easy to see why and how the characters and world she once created still mean as much to her as they do to readers today.
Looks like he's gonna be sick.
He's got the snitch! Harry Potter receives 150 points for catching the snitch!
Gryffindor wins!
Do you agree with our list? Who is your favorite fantasy author?
There would always be one dungeon, which was like a place where you could only get into by being dropped through a hole in the ground. I remember this vividly.
For more entertaining top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to MsMojo.